Mom Who Knows Nada. My name is Brianna. This is the Mama Knows Nada podcast, and we're bringing back Ernie Hamilton from CHS. We had so much fun chatting with him. I thought, hey, why not bring him back to talk about his dad life? So, Ernie, welcome back.
I'm so glad to be back. Thank you. This is, I can't wait.
And this is awesome because it's all about you. So that's so easy to talk about, right?
That's so much easier. Yeah.
Now
it's all about Ernie.
Yeah. So we've chatted a little bit, and you have a child, and they're older. So
yes.
Tell me though, a couple years ago when you found out you were going to be a dad, what did that feel like to you?
Oh, let me tell you, I can remember the day. And I can tell you because my wife and I, we were struggling. So, we were at the time in our 30s, and we were trying to have a child, and we had some struggles with that, my wife and me. So it was pretty much a blessing, our miracle baby. So we thought at one point probably we were going to adopt or foster, which we still wanted to do. But guess what? She gave me the call. I'll never forget it. I was in Daytona Beach at work, and she says, Ernie, you're going to be a daddy. And I was like, what? And I remember this. There was an escalator in my building, and I went running down the escalator. I went outside. I was so happy. I was calling my mom, my dad, my friends, texting folks. It was like the best. I can remember that day vividly. I remember telling folks at work. So I was super, super excited for that moment. Then it was like, uh-oh. This is real now.
So it's like, yay, finally. Oh, crap.
Oh, yeah, like, this is the real deal now.
So she's born. How old is your?
Yes.
She's 16 now, right?
She's 16 now, and she was born. And let me tell you, it was difficult, like I just said, about getting pregnant. But then it was a hard pregnancy, too. So she came premature. My wife was hospitalized and bedridden for Sydney came about 2 months early. And when she was born, she wasn't breathing. Real true story. And so I'm in there with the camcorder at the time, because we didn't really have the cell phones to do what they could do today. So I'm in there with the camcorder, all excited. And I remember the doctors and everyone, they asked me to shut it off because they were the umbilical cord, I can't remember, it was wrapped around her. But then,
my gosh.
They went to hit her, and it was like, and I remember one of the nurses or someone in there, maybe it was the midwife, someone was saying, wake up, baby. And you know how you wait long to hear that cry? So there was no cry. And so I got a little nervous then. And I remember my mother-in-law being in there too. And finally they did something, and she did a little, And so they rushed her to the, it was all so fast. They rushed her to the NICU, and I'm like, things were going and happening. They told me to follow them, and it was a lot of drama. There was a lot. And then, therefore, I guess that's why Sydney's so drama-filled today. She wanted to be here early, and she got it. She got her wish, but it scared mom and dad half to death, I tell you.
Oh my gosh, to be so close to like your little miracle, and then being like,
Yeah, all those emotions, all those things go through your head. And I remember, and Nicole, my wife is Nicole, and she was kind of out of it. And I remember having to be the one to do everything because Nicole had a C-section, so it was a planned one. And so I had to be the one to go to feed Sydney, feed the baby, hold the baby. And the nurse, I remember, I was so afraid because she was so little.
Yeah.
And said, you have to sing to her, you have to talk to her. And so I was doing all of those things and reading to her. And I was doing that while my wife was pregnant too. So I prayed every day to God, and I was like, please let her make it. I'll be honest. It was like, please let her live. That was my greatest and most sincere prayer, and that my wife be healthy and come back home. Yeah. So it was a lot. So there's a lot of story and history to that. But but she's here now. It's 16 years later, and let me tell you, she surely is breathing now. I'll tell you about that a little bit. I'll tell you about all of that.
I can only imagine.
Yes.
Okay, so what do you remember? Like, how did you deal with your wife? Like, what was that like? Having to talk to her through that because her baby gets whisked away, and I mean, did you have to tell her that? They took her to the NICU to get checked out and all that?
I did.
Oh.
Yes, I did. And let me tell you, she was kind of out of it because, she was, not all the way there. So it was so stressful. I mean, I look back on it now I'm like, wow, it was super dad. I mean, because I went into this, it's something kicked in, something that you're never trained or ready to do. Yeah. So it's like an instinct that happened like this. And it all just kind of clicked together what I needed to do, how I needed to be there for Nicole, how when she came home. So when Nicole came home, our baby was still, Sydney was still in the hospital in the NICU.
That's nasty.
So Nicole couldn't even go there and bond with her because she was still healing from her cesarean. So she was in bed. I would make sure she was fed and everything. I would take care of my wife, and then I would go to the hospital, the Halifax Hospital, and I would go there and feed Sydney and do all of those. So for the first week or two, it was Dad really stepping in to do what moms all want to do. You know what I mean? So yeah, that gives me chills and goosebumps just thinking about that moment.
I mean, a different situation with my sister, but she was born premature, and my mom recovered. She had like toxemia or something like that, and so my sister, she had an emergency C-section. My sister was like 10 weeks early, pound 13 ounces kind of thing, and in the hospital I wasn't around, I didn't know, so right. But you hear those like stories, and you're just like, oh my gosh, because then you're just like, these kids are such little miracles. And sometimes I think, like, in the heat of the day, I mean, I have a 4-year-old, I'm like, you don't feel like a miracle, kid.
And then you think back to like moments like this, like, yeah, you really are a miracle.
You really are. You lucked out, man. Wow. So that's a really fun start to fatherhood.
Yeah, it was fun, like drama from the very beginning. Like, here we go. Hold on tight.
So, I mean, there's different parts of fatherhood that you've obviously conquered at this point in time, but do you remember anything in particular being like the hardest part or the most difficult?
The most hardest, and depending on the stage of which it was, because I guess, from the beginning, my wife and I talk about this because, not that it was difficult, but I didn't really know how to be a dad at first. Now I think I'm one of the best dads ever. I really do. But at the very beginning, it was tough because you have this little person and they depend on you. And because he has a mommy and daddy, it was really big for me at first. I'll tell you that I wanted to be a part of that. But as a father, I didn't know my place at first. I really didn't. And so my wife would talk to me and say, look, you have to be here for Sydney too. You need to change her as well. You have those things that I didn't know how to do. And then having a girl, I really didn't want to do it. But my wife pretty supported me and showed me the way on how to change her, how to get a bottle ready, how to do it. So yeah, I was not ready for that. I was not N-O-T ready for that.
And then you had to be the one to do it like right away, you know?
I had to do it right away. So it's like, go figure. It's like, what? Oh my gosh. So there was a lesson in that for me, and it taught me a lot. I think that's how it all mended in for me to be a great dad and good at the job that I do at CHS.
Oh my goodness.
To be so nurturing,
Yeah. I mean, I like talking to you. It's like you have like this calming presence, which is really,
thank you.
Even through the screen. So was there anything about fatherhood that was easy for you? Just was like, this feels natural?
You know what was natural? Because I'm a big kid myself, so acting like a kid, that was the easy part. That was the fun part. Yeah. So, Sydney was like my buddy, so I had to kind of move out of that. My wife, again, helped me with that because I'm the friend, we having fun. I got a kid. I'm taking her to Disney. She's going with Dad, and she was a daddy's little girl and all of that. And then, really having to share that with my wife. So it was easy to be a kid with her, but then that backfires on you later if you continue to stay that way, Totally. So I had to learn really quick that, yes, I can have those fun times and moments with her, but I am her daddy. I am her father. So, yeah.
I'm a
being a kid was easy.
I'm a daddy's girl too. I love my dad.
Oh, are you?
Yeah,
okay, so you can relate.
Yeah.
Then.
I mean, my mom.
And my wife's a daddy's girl, so she gets it too.
Like, I love my dad. I mean, he's probably the hardest on me, but also the easiest. Like, he has like super high expectations of me, and he would never admit to this. And if he listens to this podcast, he's going to be like, Brianna. But he definitely treats me differently than my brother and sister, and it's not like good or bad. It's just different, Like,
it's different.
I'll be the one who gets spoiled, but I'm also like, you owe me those 5 cents
That's
back,
right.
lady. I'm like,
That's right.
but dad. He's like, you are not in my house anymore. I'm like,
That's right. You're a grown woman.
Oh man. Still, sometimes I'm like, oh man, this adulting thing is too much.
It's too much. It is. It's like, man, it's like, wow, so I'm almost an empty nester. So it's like, I'm at first it's like, oh gosh, this adult thing. It's like, oh no, I'm going to lose my baby in a minute. I'm not lose her, but she's going to lose her at home. She's already thinks she's an adult right right now. And that's what I'm struggling, battling with now. It's like, oh my God, letting go and letting her grow up. You know what I mean?
That is so hard. I mean,
it is.
Is there like, and this kind of goes into the next thing because, I think every phase and stage is so difficult. Like, you know, you have to trust that what you've done for your kid up until that point is going to set them up for success, right?
Right.
Scary. It's a scary thought when you think about it. So,
very scary.
On that note, how has your parenting changed as your daughter has gotten older?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a packed one too. It has changed because going from, you heard me say earlier about being, you know, the friend dad and that kind of thing and having a lot of fun. I'm still that person, but now because she's in those latter years, those most important years right now, she's a junior in high school. So really trying to help her to transition into her womanhood. She celebrated her Sweet 16 back in October, and I remember at the Sweet 16 we had a party for her.
Awesome.
And all of her friends came, and her aunts and uncles and everyone, and family was there, friends. And I had a beautiful tiara for her, and what it symbolized is that as she walked in and she sat in the chair, we had a song playing. I went to her and I explained to everyone before we put the crown on her head that she's now transitioning into becoming a young lady, a young woman. So she put her head down, I put the crown on her head, and yeah, she's our little princess, and she's grown up into being that adult. You know, she's so focused, she's so smart. She is the only child, which is a little challenging at times because there's a good and bad to that. I remember as a little girl, she always like, I want siblings. I don't have a brother. I mean, it used to bother her. She didn't have brothers or sisters, but we explained to her that she didn't understand then. I think she does now, that it was a challenge for mommy and daddy, and we had even discussed maybe adopting to have her to be with someone, but we given all the love and support to her, and so just transitioning all of that, and just my hope is that all that I've done as a father, that I've set a good example for her of what she can expect in a young man who would take her on, and you know, and she'd be wife someday, you know. Yeah. So I hope that she'll say, well, my daddy, you know, you can't just take me there, you know, because he wouldn't do that. So not that I want her to have that kind of comparison. I don't want them to have that kind of fight, but still, she has an expectation of how a man should treat her.
Well, and I think that's like, I'll be the first one to say, I think a girl's relationship with, you know, her father is one of the most important ever. And unfortunately, not every child gets to have a father figure, or even sometimes there's partnerships that are different. I'm only speaking from my experience, so I feel like my relationship with my dad really shaped exactly what you're saying. What I wanted out of a relationship for myself, and what I wasn't going to tolerate, and what I was willing to, I don't want to say settle for, because I think that's such a lackluster way to describe it, but like what I was willing to accept in a relationship, you know, because we're all humans, you know, like we're not perfect. So I would have to agree with that. I also really like that you say, it's you and your wife struggled with, you know, conceiving a child. I think that sometimes people always want to like put, you know, oh, he couldn't, or she couldn't, or it was this fault, or it was that fault. And I really think that's such a loving way to approach it. And just like, you know, there are,
give me goosebumps. Wow.
Like I've never heard anybody ever say like, it's always like, for our situation, I wasn't supposed to be able to have kids. So Declan to me is my little miracle baby too. And so, you know, my husband, he's from England. So he's always like, oh, you know, I'm British. We built an empire, blah, blah, blah. So he has this like joke, which is kind of funny. But like, it was always like, I always accepted the responsibility for, oh, I'm not going to be able to have kids, you know? So to hear you say that I think is such a, I don't know, wonderful and refreshing way to like approach, you know, because the kid's gonna come. What, you know, if it's, I always feel like whatever's meant to be always finds a way. So having somebody,
meant to be,
and then there you are, just like you guys, like, oh, we're in this together. We are
a team.
We are a team, yes. And like we're gonna. I think that's a beautiful thing.
Thank you.
So you work in child welfare. For anybody who hasn't tuned in the prior podcast for Children's Home Society here in Florida. So how has your role influenced your parenting and vice versa?
Wow, that's good. You know, I've worked in nonprofits for about, if you've seen the last podcast, like almost 29 years, and I've always been in children's services. So some of the things that I've seen, some of the support, I feel like I'm just blessed because I get a chance to see families who struggle, and let me tell you, I'm not perfect, and Nicole and I aren't perfect, and we struggle, but we have a support system. A lot of these parents there in our services, they just don't have the support or the guidance, and they weren't given that or shown that. So I'm glad that we have a team that can wrap around them to do that. Luckily, our team for us was our family, our church, you know, our friends, our loved ones, or our family is what we call it. Our friends and family kind of intertwine with each other. But there's some people realistically who don't have that. So at CHS, we are that for our kids and for our families and for our parents.
Oh, I love that. I love that you say that too, because I think sometimes we forget how much support, you know, sometimes we have in comparison to other people, you know, like,
right.
And it's like, you know, it's an example, like my husband and I moved down here and we literally have like nobody, you know, so, you know, if, you know, that shit hits the fan, like it's him and I like tag teaming things. So, and you know, that's a beautiful thing because it really, it's hard because you feel like you don't have a break, but it's also a beautiful thing where you guys have to like come together and work together. So I think that, you know, that's right. And what you're talking about is very different than moving and not having support. So that's just a small example to say some people never have a father, you know, to put a tiara on their head. Some people never have a mom to like wrap a blanket around them and
that's right.
Don't realize how much that impacts you, like your heart and soul and your spirit, you know, that I had a friend say in a podcast, she's like, if every girl and boy child just had love from the time they were born, don't you think the world would be a happy place? And you're like, crap.
It's as simple as that.
Right?
You know, if there was just love, but that's what's missing in a lot. And unfortunately, that's what's missing in a lot of our children because they don't get to have that blessing of that. So that's why I say again that Children's Home Society is a blessing to so many because we get to provide that, and not that we're the cure-all, but my hope is that it bridges a gap that fills that empty space.
I love it. I love the work you guys do so much. So how does that work allow you to stay true as a father?
Oh, it does in so many ways. It keeps me grounded. I'm not judgmental at all, and I'm so grateful for that. I remain humble. It keeps me humble. It keeps me grounded, and I'm not self-centered with it. And I have a lot of empathy for what's happening, and I can empathize with it and sympathize with it because again, because Sydney has a loving mommy and daddy, it's not saying that it's not difficult.
Oh yeah.
So it's very real. You know, it's very real. We have real issues and real situations to deal with, and there's times when we need support. So yeah, that's how it all aligns with each other. So it working at Children's Home Society has just given me that bandwidth to really be empathetic and understanding. So it aligns with my personal life and my work life, which makes it all the best.
That is awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. How else do you stay true to yourself, your family, and your loved ones?
I try to, and I struggled with this. So we talk, say Ernie's a workaholic. And in my early stages of my marriage and having a child, I'll be honest with saying this just to be as real about it. I wasn't as present as I could have been. I was there, you know, and I was the provider. I was doing all the things that I needed to do, but I wasn't. For years, it took a while for me to become present. Where I'm at today and where I stand today, I'm in every moment. So I'm there with my daughter. I'm there with my wife. We're there at her cheer competitions. I'm there at school plays. I'm at everything she does. I'm her biggest cheerleader, no pun intended, being that she's a cheerleader. But I am her biggest cheerleader, and so is her mom. But I'm there every step of the way with her. And I think that came over time because Ernie was not always that, because I wanted to be successful. I wanted to help the world. I wanted to help other children. And sometimes you get so wrapped up into that you, not intentionally, but you neglect your own. And you have to remember, you know, that's kind of what kept me balanced and grounded. And I'm glad my wife was able to see. God knew what I needed to. He knew I needed the person to be that, because Nicole is different than I am. And I'm so glad she helps me, I help her. And she has helped me to become a better dad for my daughter.
I love that. And I like how you say it took you time to get there. And I think it was really funny when I told my husband, I was like, oh, I actually have a couple dads who want to talk to me in this podcast series. He was like, oh, thank goodness. He's like, you know, you don't know how hard it is. There's like nothing out there for dads and like what to do. And I think that, you know, I've said this in other podcasts, like my husband is a great father. I mean, I can get angry at him. I could like kick him out of the house, whatever, like our relationship could crumble, but I could never take that from him. He is an exceptional father, but I think it's hard sometimes. Like, I think it's hard because, you know, and maybe your situation's a little different because you, like your wife physically couldn't, you know, take care of your daughter in those first few weeks, you know, like you had to be hands-on from the moment, but so many times, like it is mom and dads are like, how do I like fit into this puzzle?
Yeah, and where do I go? Where do I fit in? Yeah,
and it's like, and then they just stand there, and then so for us, like my husband just did what he knew. Like he was like, I'm just gonna work harder. I'm just gonna get a promotion. I'm just gonna make more money because that's gonna make everything easier. And it's like that doesn't make everything.
That's how society has taught us. That's what they have taught us. Yeah, that's true. So, very true.
So it's interesting that you say that because it's like it's taking you some time to come around to like, oh, I can just enjoy this space and I don't have to try so hard. Or, you know, she's going to be graduated in a couple of years. Do I need to work for that promotion now? Or maybe that can come in 2 years when she's studying. You know what I mean? Like how your perspective has changed. That's really, really cool.
Totally changes.
Now, okay. So you've had a pretty incredible experience as when your daughter was born. So what kind of information would you like new dads or soon to be dads to know about fatherhood?
One thing the new dads should know is that it's okay not to know. It's okay not to know everything. As men, a lot of times we're expected to be the ones who know this and know that and can save the world and this and that and be super dad. And I would say just be yourself and try not to be that. You know, try not to be that. You can't be all things because we have to take care of ourselves as well. And a lot of times the pressure is put on men that we have to be, you know, in control or the provider or the one who's out front and the protector and all of that. You still can be that, but just be true to yourself and be vulnerable to know that you don't know it all. And it's okay. It's okay.
That's great. That's great advice. Someone would have told me that before I was mom.
Let me tell you, I had to learn over time. See, now I'm a little experienced now. And when you think about it, the Ernie of yesterday, it's like if I can go back and talk to him, and I would have taught him so much more. So there was no book. You know, I even tried reading that book. You know that book they give you when you're pregnant, and it's like you see this mom on the front of it, and she's in the chair. And I'm looking at that book. I'm like, I don't want to read this. It's like, you know, what is this going to do? It's book knowledge, but you know, it's nothing like being hands-on. I mean, I'm sure that information in the book was very helpful, but then again, all those nerves, you try to prepare for parenthood.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things you try to do the best and you want to be the best, and you're going to make mistakes. You know why? Because you're human.
Yeah.
You're going to make every decision is not going to be a good one, and it's okay. It's okay.
You know, it's so funny you say that. I remember trying to be so prepared for Declan. You know, like I got like 4 different types of bottles because I didn't know which ones he was going to like, and you know, all these things and like different diapers and like you know, those are like little nuances that people like don't tell you. You know, like your baby might not like the certain like nipple on a bottle. Like what is that? And then you know, and then pacifiers specific. Some kids don't even like pacifiers, like, and don't even get into like toddlerdom and older because it's like game over. You know, like
you think you have all those. You think you're prepared and you're all set. And you're like, oh man, she just threw a monkey wrench in this a curveball. Like that's not what she likes. That's not who she is. So yeah, you just do the best you can do, and then you just do the best you can do.
Some days it's a crapshoot. Let's be real here.
It is. Yeah, it's like, wait, did I get it right this time? Oh, I did. Oh, I got lucky.
Yes. I'm playing the lottery today.
Oh, yeah.
What has helped you stay grounded and present in your parenting and dad life?
What has helped me stay grounded is Sydney. She's helped me stay grounded. She has made me to be... she's taught me a lot. So even in watching her mature and to grow up, she's helped me be grounded. You know, not being, you know what, it's really hard because I'm a teen of the 80s and she's a teen of now. So, you know, the 80s teens, it was a whole lot different for us. And I used to do a lot of comparison. I had to think in my head, Ernie, stop. she's not. You're sounding like your parents now. I'm sounding like my mom and dad. I'm like, oh my God, I am them now. But you know, you think you try to help them in their time. And it's like, Ernie, that is decades ago. This is 2022. So things that worked in the 80s are not the things of today. So yeah, she's kept me grounded, and I've kind of stayed kind of hip and cool to that too. I think I like to say I'm a little cooler than my wife, honestly. I know she's probably going to watch this, but yeah, I am. I'm the dad that knows all the music. I'm the dad that tries to get into everything, to kind of understand the little TikTok stuff and all that. So I try to stay present in that way and to be real in her time now.
Oh, that's so cute, actually. Like, don't ask. My husband, I tried to show him how to do like a story on Instagram.
He's like, oh, no,
he was like, I don't understand. I'm like, it's not
a story on Instagram. What do you mean?
And then, you know, by the time Declan's older, Lord only knows what's gonna.
Oh my goodness! What, 10 years from now, when I'll be interviewing you?
How do you do this stuff? I don't know. Oh man.
Gosh.
All right, let's see here. Is there any useless information that you received when you were like throughout parenthood? And it can be any stage, because your daughter's 16 now. So that you're like, this is just incredibly naive or useless.
Yeah. What was something that was just naive or useless? Like, you know what, man, you could have kept that to yourself. I guess cookie cutter of like of how she would respond to things, you know, because every child is different. So, you know, people try to give you advice is good, but then when they're not open to that, or they're thinking the way they do their parenting is the only way and the right way.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes that can be, I won't say useless, but it's like you can take that with a grain of salt, but you have to make things work for you. You know what I mean? And work for your style. So you can take maybe a third of that, but because it works one way for one parent, doesn't mean it's going to work this way for you and your situation. However, I bet there's about like 5% of something that someone has said to you. So I don't know if I have anything that was just useless, but not being cookie cutter is one of the things. Like, okay, Ernie, you can't be, you can get the advice and things, but you have to make this work for your child, because you don't want them to ever think that, well, I'm not such and such, and she's at that age now, at that very teenage hormonal age now, where, all kind of things. And it's like, she has more of a voice. So those things I did with her, even when she was 10, doing it at 16 is totally different.
Doesn't work.
Yeah, doesn't work.
Yeah. I bet she's got a really strong voice at 16 too.
She does. She's a leader in her own right. She's like the captain of her cheer team. She's the leader in so many programs at school.
That's awesome.
And she now has I hate to even talk about it. She has a boyfriend now.
Ooh.
Oh, God. Yeah, I know. I don't even, that's another day. That's another segment.
I was going to say, what has that been like?
He's a very nice young man. I got to say that I really do adore him. He's very mannerable, and I can tell that he's grown up in a loving home. So all of those things, it's like the universe and God knew what I needed and what was going to calm me, because I can say as of now, knock on wood, he's that. I can't tell you that at first my daughter was like, Dad, he's scared of you. I'm like, good. He's afraid of me. He's afraid of me, like, real good. So, but he's a very nice young man. But it's just really, I didn't know. You don't know as a parent when that kind of thing is going to happen. And I'm like, oh my God, here it is. So that's a whole nother chapter that I'm not ready for yet. So that's another segment, because it's like it's the whole stages of growing up,
And it's your baby girl, like,
it's my baby girl, my own baby girl. So you're not going to steal her from me, so no. But anyway, it's all good though. She likes him a lot, and he likes her. He respects her. We've met his family, we've met his siblings, and he's met our families, and he's met my mom and dad during Christmas. So
cute.
Yeah, it's just really interesting and cool to see this. To be here in this space is like, wow. I remember when we used to do our little videos before there was like any TikToks and stuff. I still have videos on my phone where she's in my back seat and she's 4 years old, and I'm being the dad and I'm driving and she's back there singing. We're like doing these cute little things. So I have to show those. And sometimes she tries to act like she doesn't like that. I don't want to see that. She knows she wants to see it. I'm like, those moments, you're going to cherish them and you're going to remember those things, later in life. So yeah, we've always had that kind of connection. So yeah, anyway.
I mean, when I was a kid, we didn't have a camcorder. So like, I have all these videos on my phone with like, that doesn't mean it's easier now, but I'm like,
so much easier now, right?
Yeah, and I just had like this pic collage pop up of like 9 pictures from like different stages, and you're like, oh my gosh, look at that tiny little baby, and then you see like, I'm like, you're like a little boy. Where's my baby?
Right.
Come back.
Where's the baby? Yeah, come back. Oh no, come back. It's
baby,
like, yeah. Baby, come back.
You come back. Okay.
Okay. Sorry.
As we go
I was going there with you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. What do you wish you would have been told about fatherhood?
What do I wish I would have been told? Ooh, what I wish I would have been told. I wish I'd have been told that, I don't know if I have a wish what I've been told. Maybe it's to not get so. Oh, I wish I'd have been told really, because I grew up in a household with boys. I have a little brother, so I have my mom, my dad, my little brother, and so I never grew up with girls really. I wish I'd have been told of how emotional that would be, just to have, I always wanted a little girl, but I didn't know it was going to be such a roller coaster ride. You know what I mean? And it's nothing bad about it. It's just that being sensitive to the other side of to another gender, it was like, really, that was a culture shock for me. It was just to have a little girl, like, oh man. So there's a lot that I wish I'd have been told about what that would be like. But I guess I had to experience it for myself.
Totally. Yeah, I get It's one of those things I feel like you just gotta I don't know if you can ever prepare for that. It is tough. No. It's tough. I mean, my son is super sensitive, and I was like, I don't want a girl. I can't imagine a mini me. Like, oh my gosh. I didn't ever think about me in boy form. Like, that's what he is.
Right.
I'm like, jeez.
I still got it.
I did not think this through. Joke's on me.
Yeah, joke's on you. You got a mini me. Yep.
I mean, he's real cute, but he's real spicy. He's a firecracker.
Yeah, like his mom.
Yeah.
Yep.
Lucky me. Jeez. What unsolicited advice do you have for parents?
Be a team.
Whether
you're co-parenting, whether you're in parenting together in the home, be a team. Like, I didn't even realize until you brought it up that how I said we. I really saying that because we're in it together. Be that for the child. That it's important to the child. Like I said, again, even if you're not together as parents, it's really important for the child to see that and to witness that. Yeah. Be a team.
God, that's such good advice. Because it is so hard. My parents divorced, and it was really ugly. And I just remember them fighting all the time. Everything. We were the middlemen.
And it can affect the child upbringing. You turned out to be a wonderful person, thank goodness.
A lot of therapy.
It's not always, and that helps. Hey, nothing wrong with that. Nothing at all wrong with that. So that's good. That's good.
But I think that's a good point. You hear people, fighting all the time, or parents are they're going through divorce or someone's separating and it's ugly, and you're just like, but are you thinking about the kids? And
are you thinking about the kids? Right? Are you thinking about the child?
Yeah.
Right.
And I look at my parents, they were 20, 21 when they started having kids, and I was like, you guys are just kids yourself. Everybody's different. Yeah. My parents were still children at 20 and 21. And then you flash forward 10 years and they're getting divorced. You're like, well, no wonder. But they just didn't have the skill. You talk about
they didn't have the skill. It wasn't there.
It's exactly.
None of us do.
Exactly. And you just think about, and they grew up in very abusive households. So the supports that you guys offer, they didn't have any of those supports. They weren't in foster care or anything like that. But you look at the thing, you're they didn't have support. They didn't know how to emotionally handle things. They didn't have resources. And this was
right. All that's there now. The healthy families, healthy start. All of these resources that are there today. Yeah.
Yeah, we're back there for them. So, it's. I love that you said that. Anyway, what about last question that I have written down? Is there any insight that you would have for parents who are raising teens that you feel like you've learned in the last few years with your daughter?
Listen to them. Trust them.
Wow.
You have to you really listen and trust them. If they feel like they're not being trusted, or they feel like you're not listening to them, then they'll shut down and shut off. So really, that's the best thing I can say. Listen to their feelings. Listen to what they have to say, how they feel. Let them have their voice, even if you have to bite your lip and bite your tongue. At times I have to do that, but listen, because you don't want that to ever break away. I'm so glad that she's so comfortable with being able to tell us things. It's hard to hear sometimes, but I'd rather that she tells it to me than to a friend or someone because she doesn't trust her parents.
Yeah.
So listen.
That's incredible. I think sometimes we lose sight of that.
Yeah.
If your kids are talking to someone.
Yeah, they're talking to someone. That's right. That's right. There you go. Amen to that.
You want it to be you.
Talking to someone.
Yeah.
You want it to be you. Yep.
I say to my husband all the time, I'm like, I'd rather have like our house be the busy, messy house with all the kids in it, because then you know they're safe. You know what I mean? Like, and you can hear the conversation.
Yes.
Like,
okay, that's real there. Yes. That's ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
Yes, I get that.
I know. Amen to that. Oh, all right, Ernie. Is there anything else you'd like to add? Anything I didn't hit?
No, you hit everything. This has been a great conversation. My goodness, this is like a carry on, like part 2 to what we talked about. I know. A month or so ago. So this is really good. So yeah, I'm just grateful and honored that you found fit to have me as a guest again. I really do appreciate
you're the best.
that.
I like talking to you. I could probably ask you a million more questions, but I won't take up your whole morning. Anyway.
Oh.
All right, this is Ernie Hamilton. He's a rock star.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining the Mama Knows Not a podcast. And until next
Thank you for having me, Mama.
You just wait. I'll think of something like college, and I'll have you back. Until
have me back. There you go. When she's going to college, when she's graduating. There we go. Graduation. Let's do that one.
Then she's getting married. There we go.
Oh gosh, that's the big one.
Maybe like 10 years or so. We'll
there you go. Oh wow. Yeah.
Let's put that off a decade, right?
Yeah, a decade. You'll be on television then, and you'll have me on your couch.
Yes.
There you go. Yeah.
Dreams do come true. I'm manifesting it now.
That's right.
All right. Until next time, have fun learning all the things you didn't know you needed to know.
Thank you. I had so much fun.
See you later, motherfucker.